And welcome back to Christian World News. You know, Alaska is probably the most remote and rugged state here in the United States. Its vast wilderness covered in ice in the winter and mud in the summer. Nevertheless, families across the U.S. and even abroad are answering the call to go there and serve as missionaries.
Have you been to Alaska?
I have not.
You haven't? You've been to Siberia, though.
I have.
I've been to Alaska and Siberia.
Jealous.
Just saying. All right. Well, it's not an easy assignment. Many people can be overwhelmed by the spiritual and physical challenges of living in remote villages. As our Caitlin Burke reports, one ministry is stepping up to support those called to the state known as the last frontier.
Alaska is by far the largest state in the nation, and much of it is land where no one can live.
You're looking at a state that's more than twice the size of Texas, that has fewer roads than the smallest state in the country.
There are nearly 225 remote villages here, accessible only by boat or how we're traveling. Although missionaries and church planners first traveled to Alaska in the late 1800s, few indigenous evangelical churches exist today. As a result, international Christian organizations continue to send missionaries to reach people in these remote areas.
Coming to Alaska is like going to a foreign country. It takes 2 days of travel often to get out to the villages. You get there and they keep their old language. It's like being in another country.
Unfortunately, these missionaries are often unprepared, undersupported, and overwhelmed by the challenges of living in remote Alaska.
They come trained for that position, and what they're not prepared for is the isolation.
Mike and Renata Hazemer work with Arctic Barnabas, a ministry that steps in and cares for those who come to share the gospel.
Our mission in 2 words is strengthen and encourage. We want to strengthen and encourage those pastors and missionaries and ministry families that are out in the remote villages so that they can be effective disciplers and evangelists on the front lines.
They offer vital support and encouragement and have the means to reach these missionaries in even the most remote villages.
Our biggest goal is to simply come alongside them, strengthen them, encourage them, have fellowship with them. But sometimes our foot in the door is a project of helping them with something.
In this village, an indigenous pastor will lead the church, but not until the parsonage receives some much-needed renovations.
So that's partly because of the high humidity in here.
Faced with the delay, church elders called Arctic Barnabas. A team worked with the elders to identify the repairs needed, addressing mold, poor insulation, and other issues often caused by the extreme weather in the bush.
How do you focus on doing ministry when living conditions are your primary focus? You can't do it.
Ed Denard and his wife Barb moved to Bethel, Alaska 4 years ago to work with the Alaska Bible Seminary. After visiting since 2006, they thought they understood the native culture. But living there is a bigger challenge than expected.
It's hard to, like my board of directors is all Yupik. My board meetings are in Yupik. And then they shift to English when they need information from me, or we're in a dialogue back and forth, but their discussion is in Yupik.
For me, aside from missing my family, it's the inability sometimes to get what I need.
For Ed and Barb, encouragement from Arctic Barnabas, whether it's a card or even a surprise delivery, matters most.
Well, the watermelon story is pretty special because, you know, it was just kind of an aside that we had made a comment to Mike one day that, you know, how much we missed that.
In Bethel, a watermelon can cost $50, a price Ed and Barb couldn't justify. Michael's next visit answered the need.
It just shows that when we're talking and sharing whatever it might be, they are listening.
Arctic Barnabas also sends out a women's magazine, a newsletter, and host retreats for the missionary families. Michael and Renata recently went even further, building a new home with enough space for missionary families to come and stay, whether they're recovering from a medical procedure or just needing to rest and re-energize. Through these divine connections, pastors and their families not only survive, but thrive in Alaska's remote villages. And as they thrive, so does the church.